This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. I want to begin this Friday half hour in the Middle East. Two of Israel's most famous leaders now face arrest if they go to almost any nation in the world. It comes after the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Paul Strand has the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
Prime Minister Netanyahu swiftly defended Israel's actions in Gaza.
No war is more just than the war that Israel has been waging in Gaza after Hamas attacked us unprovoked.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog wrote the decision has turned universal justice into a universal laughingstock. The ICC charges Netanyahu and Gallant are guilty of the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts.
We are accused of deliberately harming civilians, while we are doing everything to prevent harm to civilians. We are accused of starving a population, while we are bringing hundreds of thousands of tons of food to feed the population.
The ICC's charges came amid evidence of another international organization's bias against Israel. A new report from the group UN Watch said a former United Nations Relief and Works Agency Commissioner General held a secret meeting in 2017 with terrorist groups including Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. There, the UNRWA chief reportedly told them, "We are one, and no one can separate us." As for the ICC warrants, they mean Netanyahu or Gallant could be arrested if they go to certain countries accepting the court's authority. Nations such as Ireland and the Netherlands agreed right away to do it if given the chance.
And to those countries, Netanyahu won't be able to travel, and that's a very, very big thing.
Netanyahu's hoping for a tough backlash against the court.
This decision will have severe consequences for the ICC and those who cooperate with its decision.
President-elect Trump's soon-to-be National Security Advisor, Congressman Mike Waltz, promises you can expect a strong response to the anti-Semitic bias of the ICC and UN come January. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCaul and Republican Senator Lindsey Graham want Senate Leader Chuck Schumer to bring up a bill for a vote that the House has already passed. The measure, called the Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act, Senate Bill 224, would impose sanctions on ICC employees or associates who aid this effort to prosecute Israeli leaders. Graham tweeted, "The court is a dangerous joke. It's now time for the Senate to act and sanction this irresponsible body." Paul Strand, CBN News, Jerusalem.
I want to explore this a bit more with Chris Mitchell. He joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, the International Criminal Court accuses Israel of using starvation as a means of punishing the people of Gaza. What does Israel say it has done since October 7th?
Well, Ephraim, the Israeli government agency that controls the supplies into Gaza, called COGAT, it's called the Coordination of Government Activities in the Territories. Now, they say since the war began, they've supplied more than 1.1 million tons of aid by air, land, and sea, including more than 56,000 trucks. About 200 trucks filled with humanitarian aid each day go in to feed the people of Gaza. That includes food, medical supplies, water, enough for, at one time, 3,200 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. Also, Israel facilitated the vaccination of 97% of the Gazans against polio. And so they refute the claim by the UN that there has been famine in Gaza. They work with NGOs and private companies. And also, a Channel 12 report here in Israel concluded that Hamas steals so much of the food and sells it to the population that it's made up to $500 million, and they use that to recruit more fighters. So, in essence, according to this report, Israel's aid is actually the main oxygen pipeline for Hamas, so it's actually aiding the terror group and it's fighting.
The ICC also accuses Israel of war crimes. What has Israel done during the war to protect civilians in Gaza?
Well, Ephraim, according to John Spencer, he's a military historian. He's studied many wars, especially modern wars. He says that Israel does more than any other military to avoid civilian casualties. On the other hand, Hamas uses its own population as human shields. Hamas doesn't wear uniforms. It hides among the population. It also uses hospitals to fight from. Now, Spencer says in his long career, he's never seen any army take such measures to attend to an enemy civilian population while fighting the enemy, sometimes in the very same building. And so what happened is that Israel's done more under international law that it requires, and also more than the U.S. did in its wars against in Iraq and Afghanistan. And by doing this, it often puts their own soldiers at a disadvantage. For example, they actually telegraph their own maneuvers so the population in Gaza can relocate. They have millions of flyers, text messages, all in an effort to protect civilians.
What are the practical and political consequences of these charges?
Well, the practical implications, as Paul said in his report, is that, Gallant or Netanyahu could be arrested in any one of the signatories of the ICC. That's about 123 countries. Some countries, as he said, Ireland, the Netherlands, they will arrest them. Others, like Hungary, say they won't. Those are the practical implications. But I think the broader implications is this will stoke anti-Semitism. It allows people to brand these Israelis and Israeli leaders as war criminals. And it'll be like a legal bludgeon to demonize and stigmatize the Jewish state and brand them as war criminals, crimes against humanity, and starving the people of Gaza, even though these charges are unfounded.
Let's look ahead to Jerusalem Dateline. What can we expect?
Well, we're going to have a report from the front lines of Lebanon with a soldier who literally just came out. His name is Doron Kadar. He's going to be telling us what it's been like there with the boots on the ground. We also have analysis by Lee Smith. He's a Middle East analyst, and he's going to tell us why what's going on in Lebanon may not be the fall of the Lebanese government and why Hezbollah might still have a foothold there. And also a story on UNRWA and what it's been doing inside Gaza, and also a story on the Bomb of Gilead, this renewal of this ancient bomb. It's a biblical story, and I think you'll like it.
All right, looking forward to that, Chris. Thank you so much. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, joining us from Jerusalem. We appreciate your insights. Stay safe and know that we here continue to pray for you and our team there. You can see more news from the Middle East on Jerusalem Dateline on the CBN News Channel. You can catch it at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News Channel or CBN's YouTube. Coming up, the federal government's considering a move that will make marijuana more accessible. We're going to take a look at some potential dangers. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
President-elect Donald Trump quickly moving to choose a new nominee for Attorney General after his first choice dropped out. And his new selection is a former Attorney General herself. Brody Carter brings us the story.
He's actually working very, very hard, round the clock, nonstop, to surround himself with the brightest and best people. I'm very proud to be a member of the transition team.
President-elect Trump wasted no time naming former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his new pick for Attorney General. The announcement follows former Congressman Matt Gaetz' sudden withdrawal after controversies, including a House Ethics Committee investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct, drug use, and payments to underage women. Gaetz announcing his withdrawal after speaking with Trump, citing concerns about being a distraction to the transition process. Bondi has already received endorsements from key GOP senators, including Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt, who called her an incredible attorney general on social media. Others, like Florida Senator Rick Scott, praised her track record of keeping Florida safe. Meanwhile, another Trump nominee, Pete Hegseth, for defense secretary, is facing scrutiny over allegations of sexual misconduct from 2017.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
Have you addressed concerns about your lack of Pentagon experience?
Also a confirmed victory for Republicans. The party has 53 seats in the Senate now that challenger Dave McCormick has officially won the Pennsylvania recount. The GOP looks set to move ahead with the Trump agenda, with South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds introducing a bill to fulfill Trump's promise to abolish the Department of Education. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Mental illness, depression, and suicidal behavior, these are just some of the dangers of using marijuana. Yet the federal government is considering a move that will make the drug even more accessible. The DEA's plans will also give an economic boost to businesses that sell marijuana. CBN News medical reporter Lori Johnson explains.
In early December, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency will hear testimony on whether the federal government should reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug with moderate to low potential for dependency. Schedule I drugs include heroin, ecstasy, LSD, and currently marijuana. A downgrade to Schedule III would put it alongside of anabolic steroids, ketamine, and Tylenol with codeine. One notable impact would be the enormous financial benefit to the $30 billion marijuana industry. That's because the 15,000 dispensaries in states where pot is legal would then be allowed to deduct major business expenses from their federal taxes, allowing them to use that windfall to expand their reach.
They're selling addiction to make money, and they don't give a damn about the public.
David Evans will testify against the move at the DEA hearing by suggesting the government is ignoring pot's dangers.
In the case of marijuana, the FDA is not going to have to study it at all.
Evans will point to today's high THC concentration in the drug and its well-documented link to psychosis.
We're now seeing a lot of that. It causes mental illness, depression, suicidal behavior.
One example is Zach Plant, who was diagnosed with cannabis-induced psychosis after his marijuana use caused him to lose touch with reality while experiencing hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia.
I had thoughts of other people wanting to hurt me, thoughts of the only way of, being safe was to end my own life.
While his symptoms didn't last, doctors gave Zach a warning.
If you smoke marijuana again, there's a chance that you don't come out of psychosis.
Zach's not alone. Doctors regularly see the dark side of marijuana use.
As it became legal, definitely saw more delirium, hallucinations, paranoia as being side effects of this. And then even just normal depression, anxiety.
Also severe vomiting, heart and lung complications, sexual dysfunction, and stomach paralysis.
They would come in and have long bouts of being unable to eat. This would last for 3 or 4 days, and it was well known that it was due to marijuana.
Armed with these and similar stories, David Evans and others will object to the DEA's plan, which would loosen economic restrictions on those who sell it.
It's a political, financial move to cater to the marijuana industry and to young people.
The reclassification process will take months to complete. It's unclear whether the incoming Trump administration will call for a shift in DEA priorities, which could put the move on hold. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, Colorado Buffaloes coach Deion Sanders is vocal with his team about his faith despite some criticism. He shares why he is not planning to stop anytime soon. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The first college football 12-team playoff begins in less than 1 month as teams make their final push to build their postseason resumes. One of those is 8-2 Colorado. The Buffaloes are ranked 16th, but would be in the playoffs if they win their final 3 games. Head coach Deion Sanders is no stranger to the spotlight. Back in September, the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a letter to the University of Colorado expressing concerns that Coach Prime is violating the First Amendment by praying with his team. Sanders has been vocal about his Christian faith and on Tuesday said he doesn't plan to stop.
I'm not going to be ashamed of the gospel. That's what my Bible tells me. And I'm going to proclaim my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ wherever I want to. Ain't nobody going to tell me not to give love and show respect to my Lord and Savior that has blessed me, has pulled me up from suicide and thoughts and a multiplicity of things that you don't know.
CBN Sports reporter Will Dawson is joining us now to talk about the latest. So, Will, what do you think? Does the Freedom for Religion Foundation have a case here?
Hey, Ephraim. Well, one thing that I've never been confused with as a lawyer, but I do know a little bit about sports, and I think all you need is a little common sense when it comes to applying the First Amendment. Look, let's be clear. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is a tool of the enemy. When people like the Freedom from Religion Foundation talk about the separation of church and state, their view is that you have freedom to worship any way that you want to. Just do that in the privacy of your own home or in the privacy of church. But our founders wrote the freedom of expression clause into the First Amendment to protect us against people like this. They assumed that faith was so intertwined in who we are and what we do that we would express it. And it does protect people like Deion Sanders. Now, I don't know if any one of his players have actually brought a complaint, but let's assume that they did. I think their case doesn't hold much water. I think what they would have to do is prove that Coach Prime is withholding playing time or a scholarship for that matter. And I just don't think that that's the case. But this is not without precedent. Back in 2022, the Supreme Court heard a case, Kennedy versus Bremerton School District. And back in 2017, Coach Kennedy would pray on the 50-yard line. He was eventually joined by some of his players, and the school district was afraid that they were going to get sued. And so they asked him to stop. Well, when he didn't, they didn't renew his contract. The Supreme Court, overwhelmingly majority vote, said that they violated his First Amendment rights. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen here. If a case is even brought against Coach Sanders, I think that he has every right as a private citizen to express prayer in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. Now, you are regularly out on college campuses interviewing players and coaches as well. It seems that more and more are proclaiming their faith. What are you hearing?
That's true. I was at the University of Kentucky last week, and I visited with Coach Mingione, who is the coach of the baseball team. He talked about the institutional support he has from the University of Kentucky, and he talks about how the values are faith first, then family, and then baseball. And then a couple of weeks ago here on NewsWatch, we shared about Oklahoma State women's basketball head coach J.C. Hoyt, who helped baptize 3 of her players. And it's just an amazing thing that's going on college campuses. Oh, and by the way, Colorado 2 years ago had only 1 win. Now they're 8-2, looking at a playoff bid. Coach Nick Mingione just this past year led Kentucky to their first ever College World Series. And J.C. Hoyt and the Oklahoma State women's team is now 5-0. There are cultural benefits to what's happening in these locker rooms. The coaches love these players like children. And I think the Freedom from Religion Foundation should worry about other things that's going on college campuses before they start pushing in on some of these coaches and players.
Before we let you go, let our viewers know how they can get more great sports content from CBN Sports.
Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us, follow us on Instagram. I think you've got the information there, but on Instagram, it's at CBN Sports _, and on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@CBN Sports. We've got a ton of content there that goes even more in depth than we can do in just a short period of time on NewsWatch here, but we appreciate you for having us here, Ephraim.
My pleasure indeed. CBN Sports reporter Will Dawson, we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Coming up, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson makes a surprise appearance at a big community event. Get the details on that next. Plus, your Friday Faithful is also ahead. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today. Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
Children in the Los Angeles community received a few surprises at an advanced screening of the holiday film Red One. Its star, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, made a surprise appearance. The children and their families are part of the Watts Empowerment Center. Amazon and MGM Studios hosted the movie event and distributed fun and educational gifts from Wonder Kids. Those presents included Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels from Mattel. Amazon also donated a bus to the Empowerment Center to assist these families. Johnson's character is the head of the North Pole security in the holiday action film. He helps a bounty hunter to rescue Santa. Red One is playing in theaters right now nationwide. A big break for a teenager with a special gift. Just out of high school, this aspiring sports broadcaster is on his way to the big leagues. Alan Wiley is a sports enthusiast who happens to be blind. After graduating from high school, Alan accepted a scholarship to Rowan University's broadcasting program. That includes producing the official radio broadcast of the Philadelphia 76ers Development League team, the Delaware Bluecoats. Chosen as one of just 4 on-air commentators, and fans are taking note. Alan is planning to launch his own radio show on the school station called The Blind Truth. Beautiful. Time now for your Friday Faithful, and today I leave you with this thought as we wrap yet another week together. You have what you need to succeed. It is inside you. It is in your gifts. It's now time for you to tap in. Do the work. Do your work. And watch God work for you and with you. With that word, I encourage you to make this a fabulous Friday and do yourself a favor. Have a wonderful and rest-filled weekend. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online. That address is cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can do that by emailing us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, which is formerly known as Twitter. Certainly hope you will join us again right here next time. Have a fabulous Friday. We'll see you back here come Monday. Goodbye and God bless.